I'd like to start by thanking some folks. The list is long, bear with me. We owe gratitude to so many medical professionals. The ambulance crew from American Medical Response, who responded so quickly, who remembered us after the first time, and were so efficient and friendly. The folks at Memorial Central on the 5th through the 7th floor. So many wonderful people that really cared and gave Dad everything they had. Thank you all so much. To Dr. Culp, Kathy, Nan, and the entire staff at Agewell Medical Associates, thank you for keeping track of Dad and helping us keep him as healthy as possible. To Gentiva, thank you so much for 10 months of service, for coming to our house every day and working with Dad. Thank you for finding the humor in his stubbornness and not just giving up. To Pikes Peak Hospice and Palliative Care, thank you for easing Dad into his eternal glory. It was so wonderful to have people to rely on, you just don't know. To have nurse practitioners like Amy who came to our house. And on that final night, Anne was so gentle and so concerned. She took such good care of both Dad and Mom. Those of you in hospice and those of you that volunteer with hospice, you make a huge difference. Thank you for the job you do. To the folks at Capadonna's Funeral Home, thanks for loving my family. You've gone so far above and beyond, it's hard to express how much we really appreciate it. To everyone at both our churches, thanks for the food. Trinity, Nazarene, and Springs Community, thank you so much for all of your prayers through this journey, and for your willingness to help, to come clean our house, to bring us food, to just support our family in prayer. We couldn't have made it without you, and we thank you for your continued support as we go through this. To my aunts and uncles who came and supported Dad so many times, you were truly an example of putting family first. Thank you for all you did and all the times you came and helped. To the countless people who visited Dad in the hospital and at home and took Mom out for coffee, thank you so much. This season of our lives has been difficult. Thank you for helping us bear our load. And now, back by popular demand, things Jake says. Most of these are dialogues. I'll attempt to convey Dad's humor. The first day after the hospital, the home health nurse came to our house for Dad's initial eval. After the hellos and the explanation of who she was and why she was there, Dad's first question to her, "When are you leaving?" After the nurse left, the occupational therapist showed up for her eval. Dad puffed up his chest and said, "I got rid of one." She looked confused, and I explained very helpfully, "Oh, the nurse left, and Dad thinks he did it." While we were in the hospital, Dad was staring out the window. He looked so pensive, and I leaned over and said, "Dad, what are you thinking?" And he looked at me and said, "Why do you think I am thinking?" We had a lot of fun with speech therapists. Dad has free association that they aren't necessarily trained to handle. So she said, "Given the letters A-R-C, what word can you make?" "Heartbeat." "What?" So Janet, of course being helpful, "How about TCA? Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame." Therapist, "Hi Jake, I'm your new occupational therapist. It's so nice to meet you. Goodbye." Jake to his nurse, "Do you have a house?" "Yes." "Is it a nice house?" "Well, yes, it's a lovely house." "Is it nearby?" "Sure, it's in town." "Well, why don't you go there?" In the hospital, Dad said, "Why am I here?" Jeff answered, "You broke your hip." "You broke your hip?" Dad, say, "I broke my hip." "You broke your hip?" Janet, still being helpful, say, "Jake broke his hip." "Jeff broke his hip." Memorial has signs on the walls that say, "Don't fall, call for help." So in the middle of the night, I'm sitting by his side. "Help!" "Dad, I'm right here. What do you need?" "Nothing. I just don't want to fall." Speech therapist. Name something with lox. "Cream cheese." "What?" Janet, the helpful one. "You know, bagels." Speech therapist. Jake, which would you rather have on your face, pimples or dimples? "I don't want either." Janet, still helpful. "Dad, you have to have one or the other. Which is it going to be?" "I'll take warts." After Dad got his feeding tube, he spent all of his time trying to pull it out. It was a constant struggle. One morning at 4 a.m., I was in his room changing him, and I said, Dad, seriously, you must not pull out the peg. I know you can, but you really shouldn't. I want it out. Does it hurt? Only when I pull on it. Dad, don't try to pull on it. Well, give me another alternative. My dad was one of the most dependable, noble, and upright men you could meet. His personal code of ethics was so far and above anyone you could know. He just lived honorably, a man after God's own heart. He was so quiet and gentle, you had to be sitting close to hear the funny stuff he murmured under his breath. He was all about family. He loved his kids, all 4 of them. He took such pride in Jeff, his intelligence, his Christian walk, his integrity, his work ethic, his commitment to fatherhood, and his Chuck Norris jokes. Jeff stopping by never failed to bring a smile to Dad's face and really perk him up. Jeff was our not-so-secret weapon. Dad adored Elma and admired the job she did, both as a mom and as a scientist. He glowed when Elma would enter the room. He just loved to be around her. He chose Memorial this entire year because it was Elma's hospital. Dad loved Mikey from the moment I started reading his emails to him. On our first date, Mikey took my parents out to Fargo's, earning their everlasting loyalty. In his last days, Dad asked for Mikey often, laughing at his silly jokes and giggling hysterically when Mikey shot me with the Nerf gun. Dad adored his grandkids. He thought the sun rose and set on them. Before Mikey and I moved to Colorado, we tried to get them to move to Texas. Dad's response was, no way, I am not leaving my grandkids. The last decade was really tough on Dad, especially this last year. It started in 2002 and 2007 with many tiny, small strokes, and then it escalated into several large strokes beginning in December of 2011. Dad learned to walk again this year, not once, but twice. After his second stroke in January, folks told us to prepare for immobility. Dad didn't listen to them. He knew he could walk. When we left the hospital a month later, he was shaky and using a walker, but he was upright and under his own power. Some of the things that helped Dad push through the tough rehab were thoughts of upcoming events. Uncle Vern's 99th, the Reger reunion, and his favorite granddaughter's wedding. He made it to Uncle Vern's birthday party, but then he broke his hip and had another stroke, so he missed both the reunion and Stuff's wedding. It was a really tough month. He was so depressed because he wanted to be with his family. Thank goodness the siblings came by after the reunion for a visit so that he got to see each of them in October. The things that I learned through this last year, family is so important. Treasure each and every one of them. Rehab is hard. My dad was a fighter. You can accomplish just about anything you can set your mind to. My dad was such a good, kind, compassionate man to the core of his being. After his strokes, he wasn't able to hide anything from anyone. What's normally on the inside was on the outside for all to see. And the essence of Jacob Reger was beautiful. Dad's smile and laugh could make a world of difference. Because his filters were gone, he laughed like a 2-year-old, boisterously and wholeheartedly. I did everything I could to make him giggle. I think we all did. When we brought Dad home from his first stroke, he didn't remember our new house. Even though all roads led to Rushford, he'd forgotten. He kept demanding we take him home. His demands continued up until the last week. He looked up at me one morning and begged me, please, can I just go home now? Oh, Dad, I'm so very, very glad you're home. When the grandkids were little, Poppy sang a song to them every day. It always ended with joy and laughter and demands for another person to be honored. So if you'll humor me, and if I can get through this. Oh, Poppy, what a wonderful grandpa. You're marvelous, you're terrific too. You are great, and we love you. Dad, I want you to pick your hands up and touch your shoulder 5 times. Jake shuts his eyes tight. Charlene says, oh, he's so tired. We should let him sleep. He's not tired, Mom, he's avoiding. Jake, dear, are you asleep or are you awake? I'm asleep. It's okay, Dad. You can rest now.